I am Deborah Oatts, a mother of 4, grandmother of 8. I've been married over 55 years. There's the youngest Marshall girl. She's the one who married at a very young age. So they would have met a somewhat shy and kind young lady that followed the rules. I just felt a calling, just a huge calling. And that was the voice: leave the job, go back to school, follow my path. And I kept hearing the voice, and it took me probably 4 or 5 years to take the big leap. I just took the big leap. I did not want to live in the situation where it would be, what if? When you take a leap, when looking at your finances and your budget, we were living off of one income at that time. And that was kind of scary. That leap of faith I took wasn't just for Debbie Oatts. It was for others that would follow my footsteps. As you're climbing, as you're rising, who are you bringing with you? Who are you bringing with you? If you're the only one on the top of the ladder, there's a problem. I would want someone to take out of this story that I am sharing today, because I'm sharing this from my heart, and that is that leadership comes from the heart. I am Deborah Oatts, and I am a boss lady. The woman who I am Deborah Oatts. I'm a mother of 4. I'm grandmother of 8 children. I've been married over 55 years. We live in the Indianapolis community, have been involved in the community for a number of years. If someone had met me before the business, before the successes, growing up in the community where I grew up, I think what people would say, well, there's the youngest Marshall girl who lived in the community, and they would have said, oh, she's the one that went to Tech High School. She's the one who married at a very young age and is known in the neighborhood. So they would have met a somewhat shy and kind young lady that followed the rules that were from my parents and my grandparents. That's who they would have met. Okay, so let me tell you what happened. I had a very good career at a company that was just a phenomenal company, one I had always wanted to work at, and had been there for about 12 years and wanted to go back and finish school. So all while I was working at the company, I was actually taking classes. What happened was we had a lot going on. My husband was running his business. We had a lot of things, family going on with children in school, and one going to college, one in her last year, her senior year of school, and just a lot of family dynamics with all of the responsibilities that I had. And I felt that I just felt a calling, just a huge calling. And one, it was to be family focused. From my belief as a Christian, my Christian faith was to reach my greatest potential and be the kind of person the kind of woman that God would be pleased with, but especially as it related to in my relationship with my family, but just a whole lot of dynamics going on and things that I felt that I couldn't control. But I felt one of the most important things that I could do was just hear the voice that I was hearing. And that was the voice: leave the job, go back to school, just follow my path. And I kept hearing the voice, and I thought, this is crazy. It doesn't make sense. Financially is something that my husband and I couldn't do. My husband encouraged me to take that big leap. And it took me probably 4 or 5 years to take the big leap. But there's something that I did. I just took the big leap and said, this is the opportunity. I wanted to accomplish the goals, finish school, be focused on the family, but also within me, there was a deep calling within me, a purpose that I was trying to figure out what that purpose was. At that time, I was 40 years old, but I took that big leap. And I can share with you that as being young, my husband and I married very young. And so when you marry young like that, you're always kind of looking and saying, okay, well, what is the next journey? What's the next path? What are the best things we could do to raise the most healthy children that we could raise that would contribute to society? So it was just a matter of just taking a look at that and saying, well, what is most important? But what I heard it a gift. I heard a calling, and it was, of course, not an audible voice, but it would seem like everywhere I would go, there was always somebody around me, older women. Of course, I had my mother and grandmother. But outside of that family, there were always women that I had worked with at a very young age, because I was, as young as I was usually the youngest one working in the organization. But they would spend time with me and always pouring into me and teaching me lessons of wisdom, which I loved, our lunch times and our coffee times. But the more they taught, the more I began to just ask the Lord, what's the direction for me in my life? I could really sense the calling. I loved people. I loved to be around people. I loved teaching. I loved motivating. I loved being a bridge builder and being able to bridge relationships. That I really loved. So I found my sense, my calling, and my purpose through the giftedness that God had given me. Well, and what I mean by family dynamics, so it was, teenagers, and then I had the oldest daughter who was getting ready to graduate from college and going into grad school. There were just so many family dynamics in helping to guide the younger two who are at home to guide them into the right direction. And I'm working a full-time job. And it was a lot going on within our personal family life, the family dynamics that I couldn't get a hold of. And again, I didn't want to live my life, at the point of my life, I didn't want to live my life of what if this? And so that calling, that sense that I had, that there was a greater purpose, a greater opportunity to be, to hear and to have the opportunity just to listen, to say, okay, what if you do step out? What if you do something that you've never done before, but what happens when you do that? What does it look like on the other side? And I am somewhat of a risk taker. I try to manage the risk. But at that point in my life, it was just something I just kept hearing. You could do better, help in the community. How would that look like, to help in the community, to be more involved in the community? Just the dynamics of all of that. I call it the leap. It was a huge leap. And I actually have a picture in my office now that we keep in the ladies' room. And it's a lady that is jumping, has these long legs, and she is jumping over, taking a leap over a mountain. And it says, the just shall live by faith. And so that always reminded me that I can't see the way, but I could hear the direction, and I could take that leap. Well, of course, there was always a setback because there's some things I had to do. When you take a leap, when looking at your finances and your budget, of course, you got to scale it down. So that's one of the things I had to really scale down with the budget because we were living off of one income at that time. And that was kind of scary, especially with scaling the budget down. But what I found was just following the path of scaling the budget, as a family coming together and making decisions about what will be spent and how will be spent, coming together with those values that we have about what's important, faith, family, and the future. And being able to see that with the vision that my husband and I both had, we were able to achieve that. Now, there were some times where there was kind of scary situations when you're looking for opportunities and you don't get the bid, you don't get the work at that time. And so you say, oh, okay, well, what do I do now? I learn, I find information, how to bid, how to be more competitive, how to be in the right rooms, how to just keep moving and moving with resilience. And I don't want to keep talking about living by a budget, but when you have two incomes in the family and you have to go to the mind shift, you and your husband have to be on one accord because you're skinning things down. And one of the things that mind shift had to be was looking at what my purpose was. I had to turn from where I was to look and say, okay, what's my purpose? What's my direction? So it was going back to school and going back to school in a very non-traditional, it wasn't a traditional setting. I've tried that for a number of years. It was a very non-traditional setting that I went back to school at Indiana Wesleyan, and it was the perfect opportunity working in teams and working in groups. And especially as an adult learner, it gave an opportunity for me to build relationships and to understand more about the dynamics of business and how to be successful and how to work with teams and how to collaborate. And so that point of my life of going back to school then was just absolutely perfect. So my goal was to have my degree finished by the time she graduated from college, and it didn't happen. It did happen the following year. And so at one time, I had two children in college the same time I was in college. So I started the business as soon as I went back to school. So that was 1994. And I started that business about May 1994. And so I started the business with the idea of, okay, so you're gonna start a business, what you're gonna do. And so Traxel Trucking is what I did because that's the business that I knew. And I said, well, there are going to be opportunities for more women businesses within this Traxel Trucking industry. And so that's how I started Nubian, and that was in 1994. So that gave me opportunity. It gave me some resources. It gave me some business connections. I began to do some business development and be around people and more business owners, which is what I love. So I really found my sweet spot in that. And so scaling down the business and starting, let's put it like this, scaling down the financial resources as far as the budget's concerned, scaling that down so you can live off one income, but also at the same time starting a business. And so I was able to start that business through relationships that I built over time. And so because of that, I was able to start and get projects and understand more about bidding, and I had mentors. And that was a great opportunity to start that business and to go back to school at the same time. I was able to scale down to one income, start the business, and began to see some opportunities of growth. Yeah, so we expanded into that from the trucking opportunity into construction management, program management. And so I've spent my career in building projects and helping to build projects where there's successful opportunities and build capacity, improve performance with regard to opportunities for long-term growth. So I believe that through that opportunities that we were able to build pathways for Nubian and building relationships, but also pathways for other businesses to create opportunities and to expand for other businesses for their growth. I think one thing that people do when they look at this kind of business that we're in, they think it's probably easy. Because what we do is it's a lot of the PR type work we do and helping to connect with other companies, local small businesses. And I think people think, well, this is an easy job, but this is a very difficult job. And what makes it difficult is about building the relationships, building the trust, building the integrity. And the community relationships, and that building that relationships, those relationships can be difficult because they're built over time. Leading with integrity is a belief that business should uplift people as much as it builds projects, but leading with integrity, demonstrating an opportunity with resilience and creating a value where integrity is important and trust is important. So what is important about building a multi-generational legacy alongside my children and my grandchildren? It demonstrates the strong families, strength in business, and partnering together in the community and stakeholders as we build success, and then modeling that leadership, which leads to that professional excellence. Also preparing the next generation of women, entrepreneurs, leaders. And what is interesting is with my daughters and granddaughters working with us, it gives us an opportunity so that we're creating a force in Indiana's landscape of collaboration and long-term success and sustainability that goes well beyond any of our projects today. When someone experiences Nubian Construction Group, I want them to have a real experience like they've had with no other company. One, integrity and trust automatically to feel that, but also to know that they're with a company that's a thought leader that loves working out problems and solutions for the good of the client as well as the good of the customer. And having an opportunity to experience what we would call Nubian gives people an opportunity to know that we are real people. We are real people in the community, that we are experts at what we do, that we listen to our clients, and that we love what we do. So we love being involved with projects, but we also love people. So we will always treat our clients and our employees fair. We will always be fair, but we will always be known in the community as one who is a bridge builder. We will always be known as that. I am just absolutely passionate about building the community and the next generation of leaders. And I'm going to tell you why. As I'm thinking about it, and when I left that career, very rewarding career, and took that leap of faith, one of the reasons I had to take the leap of faith was because there were opportunities out there for me, for my company, for my employees, and for other business owners, other women business owners. There were opportunities that not only would it be gratifying for me, that I would help in those opportunities. And so what I do realize now, that was the reason for the Leap. Because as a servant leader, you just don't serve yourself. You serve others. So you think about the impact of the community. Think about the economic impact. You think about your neighborhoods, your local communities, your neighborhoods. You think about the opportunity for families to grow. You think about those things that can make a difference in the lives of others. So I realize now that that leap of faith I took wasn't just for Debbie Oatts, and that uneasiness I felt, it wasn't just for Debbie Oatts. It was for others, and others that would follow in my footsteps or leading the way. Well, somebody asked me, we're a very good friend of mine, we're in conversation, and said, how many have you mentored? It's like, well, I don't know. I don't count. But what I do is, because I am a person of relationships and because I deeply care about others, part of the gifting I have is to be in a relationship, to be able to see others. I could see others when they're struggling and want to lift a hand. I could see others when there's an opportunity that perhaps they don't know about, that through the business and what we do and helping with opportunities on various projects. And that is exciting to me when I could see other companies growing, other women businesses growing. And that to me is exciting. That is the real connection of what excites me about the business that I do and the work that I do. What I want them to know right now, if they're interested in taking a leap and they are terrified, I first would tell them to pray about it. And because I am a person of faith, I would say pray about it. And there are some significant Christian principles, some principles of success that are important for every person that is deep within you, deep down inside. There is some principle that lies deep inside of each person. There is some purpose. So whether or not the gift of your hands, the gift of using your brains, the gift to your intellect, whatever that kind of thing is, the gift of your hands, that can be turned into an opportunity for success. And because there's so many opportunities for entrepreneurs, for business owners now, there is an opportunity for success that lies deep down inside. Well, first of all, I would encourage them to really seek and look and search and find out, is this the direction? Is that part of their purpose? What is most important? Is it an opportunity to grow your company, to grow within yourself? But it's something you just don't want to do it because you see somebody else doing it and you think you could do it. Because that may not be in your gifting, your area of gift and your purpose and your skill set. But I would say with all earnestness that it is important to check yourself and find out if this is something, because you got to figure out the kind of work you do where you bring value. And not just, I just want to do this because somebody else is doing it. Bringing value, being good at what you're doing, having the trust and the integrity. And then I would say, after you check that, make sure you check your list and make sure it's right. Talk with other people that have taken the journey that you're interested in taking, and always have a conversation. Study and read, and also know your craft. Know your craft. Be the kind of person that can attract a good team, that people trust, and that you have integrity, where you can attract a good team and hire a good team, because it's not just built on one person. But always, always make sure that you are honest in what you do. If you're not willing to go by that little checklist to find out about integrity, trustworthiness, a solid foundation, this is not the business for you. Okay, well, what's coming up is the great blessing and the privilege I have working with my daughters and granddaughters, and we're very excited about that. Excited about what they'll be doing and where they'll be taking the company, and how the company will be moving forward. Very excited about looking at how we bring value to our clients and what's coming up, and looking at the new technology. We're very excited about that. I would want someone to take out of this story that I am sharing today, because I'm sharing this from my heart, and that is that leadership comes from the heart. And that is what's so important. It's not even about the amount of money that you make. It is about who you are from the heart, how you give back to your community, how you give back to your employees, allowing your employees to learn, giving them training and education so that they can learn and grow. And not only is it about that, but it's also about your purpose in life, how you want to live your life with purpose. And not only that, to be a person who can be a resource. Many times people want to say, well, how do you do this? And how do you do this? And I want you to work with me, that kind of thing. But I shy away from people who have their own agenda and just want to do it from themselves without giving back. So a lot of times I'll say to many of the women that I mentor, we can talk and I'll mentor you for, like, somebody will decide 4 or 5 weeks, and maybe it's a longer term mentorship, because sometimes it's formal, sometimes it's not, but always give back. So I'm always looking to see, as you're climbing, as you're rising, who are you bringing with you? That foundation of success is so important, especially in this day and time. Who are you bringing with you? If you're the only one on the top of the ladder, there's a problem. Every room you go into, every table you have an opportunity to sit, to advise. Who are you bringing along with you? So what I would want a young lady, when she's reading this, when she hears my name, Deborah Oatts, Debbie Oatts, to know that I took the leap. I want my granddaughters and my daughters to know, and other women to know, that it wasn't just a leap for me. It was a leap within my greatest potential. And so I want her to experience there's a purpose deep down inside of her, whether it's a gifting of her hands, the gifting of her mind, her intellect, and to know that that can be turned into something great, and that she can achieve, she can succeed, and that she can also take that leap too. So how I define the legacy I'm leaving, I define it by, when I think about the legacy itself, I don't define it by projects or the company. I define it by people. What it continues to do and how it continues to grow when I'm no longer around. I want to define from the heart. I want women to understand about the legacy and to keep building and to open the doors for other women. And so when I'm no longer here, the legacy continues, because that's what's important about the legacy. It continues. I am Deborah Oatts, and I am a boss lady.